Hello, everybody, and welcome back to a wonderful night of HEC ANZ Open Division. I'm joined with you, Wish, and what an amazing first game we had tonight. I was shocked, but I'm very happy. I don't know about you, man.
Well, yeah, your prediction worked out. Mine not quite so much. So, yeah, it was a great start to the night. Crimson Academy playing their flag. It's good. Hopefully, this gives us an indication of some of the games we're going to have for the rest of the night. Hopefully, maybe some closer ones. We don't want complete stomps the whole way around, but even though the early night's a good night, it should be good.
I definitely agree. And what can we expect from another close game? And that's probably going to happen now. We have two teams that are very close, neck and neck in the leaderboard. At the moment, we've got Capital taking on Funky Moon. Capital are tied for second, but being one game away is Funky Moon. And if they win, they'll all be vying for that second place. And this is going to be one heck of a match.
Yeah, I think if everything keeps going the way we're going, the rest of the games for tonight, the rest of the games for the next couple of weeks, we're at week 6. We've got, what does that mean? We've got 2 weeks left after tonight. These games are all going to be incredibly important, especially when we're talking about, we talked about it a little bit last game, but with the teams that are all vying for this spot, when they're coming against these other teams that all are on the same amount of points with them, it's so important that the games that they drop now, even 2 or 3 weeks out, is going to make a big difference towards the end of the season.
Definitely. And now we're heading into the next map, and it's going to be Tomb of the Spider Queen. A small map, a lot of fighting is going to be happening around. Look for those brawls and whatnot. But what are we expecting coming into the pick and ban phase? And it's going to be, I believe, still waiting to figure out which team will get the first pick and ban. But what can we expect? You wish.
Anything is possible. I mean, Reina's still very popular. I wouldn't be surprised if we just see Reina get banned all night. Johanna's just really strong. Her wave clear and is really strong. Ability to keep hold of those gems for long periods of time. She's popular. I think this is going back even to when HTC was really kicking off last year. This was probably one of her popular maps. So something very popular, and we're going to immediately see a Maiev ban. So whether these teams heard of what happened in the last game that we had on stream or not, who knows, or just choosing that no, she's just got too much displacement to want to deal with.
Yeah, that she was just a monster. Luke outperformed with her, was able to get the right picks, the right targets, and probably showed maybe this is another kryptonite for a team just like with a school for this. And we're seeing an Asmodan being banned away. He got buffed recently, and I don't know if that buff enabled him to be slightly stronger. I feel like he's annoying to deal with still in on the Storm maps in Heroes of the Storm, but I don't know. I don't see if he's really ban worthy, really. But on a map like this, quite small, you could see quite quick rotations and just the global presence, like with those global annihilations and whatnot. But looking back to Funky Moon, and they're banning good old Jimmy.
Yeah. So and that Asmodan, I kind of would agree with you. I think he certainly didn't have the impact with the rework that Jimmy had. And I just don't know if we're seeing him enough to warrant that ban. I'm not sure. Like I said, he's annoying to deal with. I don't think he's impossible to deal with, but I was choosing to. And we are not having cheese. There is no cheese for you tonight.
But I love good old cheese on my pizza. But that's I don't know if that's just a cheese or just a respect ban from Funky Moon, because Funky Moon showed many weeks ago that they could take down the gods with the Cho'Gall pick, despite Cho'Gall actually getting nerfed when they removed his unstoppable on his Surging Fist. So don't know if he's still as strong, but Hanzo being straight away picked up, he is a machine with the Scatter Arrow build on Tomb of the Spider Queen. So that's a very solid pick. And Ural still left through, gets picked up for Capital.
Yeah, interesting with those bans that we've had, and Malfurion, which is, I like to say bold. I think losing the ice block, I mean, Malfurion's a very strong hero. The ice block made him overpowered. There's probably no doubt about that. But it's interesting to see them willing to bet on that. They're getting the URL. One thing I thought was we haven't seen a Genji ban. And so whether we see double Shimada brothers or not, I was not expecting an Oriole. Were you expecting an Oriole?
Stand ready.
With Vala, that sounds more plausible, but no, still not. Considering that there's a lot more stronger picks. We saw Alex Straza, just the output healing Previous game, she's just tremendous. I don't know. That's a shocker. I want to see how that would work, but Funky Moon definitely have some pocket picks that we're not really familiarized with because they keep them secret. And I think now's the time to be picking them up. And the Tacita ban, I think, is smart. They just want to get away that double support because Oriole and Tacita with the Vala is just insane. It can just output a lot of damage and sustain quite well. Considering that also Malfurion with his Ice Block nerf still being highly picked by Capital, when there's still other supports on the table that are just as strong. So you wish that's an interesting pick, but we're going to see what they can do with it. And they are banning Johanna as well.
Yeah, I mean, with that, if the Cho'Gall wasn't banned, the Oriole would kind of make sense. It would kind of show their hand maybe a little bit, but willing to go into it with that, it's going to be interesting. Yeah, that's really caught me a little bit off guard. I mean, and Capital, very smart. Banning the Tacita, the Oriole Tass Vala combo, so strong. It's just sustained for days. So you're a real smart banding with them, and then going into a Jaina Muruden themselves. So Jaina, one of the real popular, very successful majors we've had over the last little while, and their heroes team is deciding to just leave her as she is, which is always good when we see a hero that's performing well and that gets left alone. It's a nice change sometimes.
Yeah, constantly changing and just doing buffs and nerfs doesn't really allow a hero to go through a meta shift and for teams to pick up and learn how to actually counteract. But Stitches and Leoric, okay, Oriole kind of makes a bit more sense now because you've got that big beefy front liner in Stitches and Leoric as well. But Funky Moon are pulling out a composition that looks dangerous but interesting at the same time.
Yep. I would agree. Just trying to think of the things they can do. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Stitches we see a little bit on Tomb of the Spider Queen, and a Zeratul. So, I'm really impressed with Capital's banning and their drafting in general. I think picking that Zeratul, that exposes that backline pretty heavily. Stitches struggles a little bit with peeling. So if that Zeratul can get around to that Hanzo, to that Oriole, that Vala, it could very easily get some picks. So they're going to have to watch their backline.
Got to agree with that. I think it then comes down to Stitches, how well he can land the hooks on the priority targets. Botslick will be playing Stitches in tonight's match. And if anything, he needs to capture Malfurion. If Ultimo falls or he gets hooked, there is no Ice Block to save him. Yeah, he can probably pull out a Twilight Dream, but if you get Vala to follow up with a stun, Oriole even knocked back into a wall, I guess feeling that kind of a Diablo-ish play style with the knockback wall stun composition, then that would work. They need to get picks off, though, because if Zeratul, and I agree with you there, if he can get jump onto the right targets as well, pop the Void Prison, not only will that handicap the kind of pick potential that Funky Moon are running with the team composition with Stitches, Oriole, Vala, but at the same time, you've got Murden and Urel who are displacement beasts, and they will just come in and just wreak havoc into the front line and back line.
Yeah, and I hesitate to say this after last game too, but they last, Murden and Urel, they last for a very long time. They're very good at sustaining themselves. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be, I'm interested to see. I'm intrigued. These games we've had over the last few weeks, Tomb of the Spider Queen, for some reason, these teams draft these comps that I'm unsure of. But yeah, we'll see how we go.
I agree with you there. Now rocking into the blue side, we've got Team Capital. Ultima will be playing Malfurion, Horus on the Irel Totems. We'll pick up Jaina, finally Beefy on that Zeratul, and finally Tyran on Murden, rocking the good old Dwarfen King of Games and stuff.
You've completely lost me. A Funky Moon. We've got Botsilic, like you mentioned, on the Stitches, Electro on the Hanzo, Penta on the Oriole, Bloods on the Leoric, and Stumpy on the Vala.
And already now Urel is going to hop in for slight form of displacement, but Oriole, she's the angel of hope for a reason. As long as she's getting them the build and the feels, she'll be able to sustain for days. And that is why Oriole, surprisingly enough, can probably keep up. I guess in a way, it's a sustained warfare right now. If you look at Malfurion take on your Oriole for the frontliners, and Malfurion, yeah, he can do something, but it really comes down to who can get the pick off first, and that's what I think when it comes to team fights, we've got to really catch out, because if Jaina can get the blow up, that's great. But if Botslick gets a hook, then that's great for him too. And now Botslick is a focus, he gets stunned, there's going to be a double root, and he's dropping low, but will he be able to sustain Totems? No, gets hooked instead, and Totems falls! Electro will secure that kill for himself, and that is a 1-0 in favor of Funky Moon.
Yeah, and like you said, you know, you've got to look out for that hook. Jaina was just a little bit bad positioning, and Botzilla took the opportunity. And yeah, that's how they're going to get those picks. It's all in Botzilla's hands.
They got to respect Botslick's hooks, and that is something that, in positional-wise, is Capital's, I guess, first priority. They can't afford to be out of position. You got Muradin, he's fine. If he gets hooked, if anything, he'll pop the Avatar, so he has an escape. Ural, sustained for days. If she gets hooked in, once she hits level 10, if she decides to go for Ardent Defender, she's got something to do with it. You've got also Zeratul. If something happens to him, he can get safely, but again, Tomes gets hooked in. They're going to force the root down onto Botslick, and he's dropping quite a lot, but Stump God has to back away. There's Beefy. Will not secure the kill, though. Instead, it's Electro in response. That's going to be a 1-0 change in favor of good old Funky Moon, and Electro has to back away.
Yeah, really. Yeah, well played with that. I mean, it looked like Capital was going to gain the upper hand, pushing Stump God back on the Vala, but they turned it around. That Hanzo can just, if they're going to focus everyone else, Hanzo can just sit in the back and just, plug arrows away, and he's just going to find his mark. He's going to take those heroes down. And it was, well played by Electro, getting that pick.
Go look for Totems to at least. Ultimo gets hooked yet again for himself. And now it's going to be Taran Muradin get away. He will survive. Botslick is just a face tank, but he will be able to survive easily. And that is nothing for that hook. But still, Botslick has been phenomenal, and he's dangerous right now. Just showing no one is safe. I was going to say, once Jaina gets her ice block, able to survive, and if she gets hooked, it just leaves now Malfurion as a priority target. But Muradin gets hooked himself again. He will return with a stun, a bolt to the face, and just a little back and forth right now between the two teams.
Yeah, and interesting, Hanzo, Electro on the Hanzo, his talents, he's gone a Q build, so the Stormbow build, which is something quite often, more often than not, see the serrated arrows and the W build. So it's just going into the Q build, something maybe a bit more pointed with if they can target that one particular hero that they can get that hook on. That isolation, maybe with Penta with the Oil, so it's interesting, a little bit of a change, something we don't see quite as much.
It works if you're trying to blow up a priority target, but you're out jumping and trying to interrupt the channel in or the hand in. Will fall straight away. Ultimo somehow lives. Does not get blown up straight away, but if you do look at the talent choices coming from Funky Moon, and that solidifies what you were mentioning about Hanzo going for the Stormbow build. You also got the Hungering Strike build coming out from Vala, and that is just purely for the idea of once Hook comes in, blow up. And that is it. It's a very, I guess you could say, one-dimensional strategy just for a quick blow, and it comes down to Capital. Can they adapt? And now Jaina gets hooked again. She gets blown up. It's going to force Muradin to back away. And with these Web Weavers coming out for Funky Moon, they're really something to be scared of. That's scary of.
Yeah, and I mean, it's worth noting too, we didn't actually mention it off the top. Funky Moon, their first game tonight was against Run It Down. And remember last week, we both got very excited because Run It Down was a new team to the scene and came out very strong. Only lost that game, last game, till we left school for this. Funky Moon beat them in their first game tonight. And, you said it's a very one-note comp that they got the talent choices that they're going, but they are making it work. They're getting value out of that first turn-in. They've got that top four pushing in that now in the mid. They're really making it work. Whatever they did, whatever they were doing in their scrims this week, it's really, really paying off for them so far.
Got to agree with that. And just paying attention just across the board, you've got 58 gems, 60 gems in the favor of good old Capital, and they get a pick up on Botslick. Unfortunately, I missed that. That's a shame. But they do have enough for a turn-in, and now Capital are going onto the offensive. If they have to play aggressive, it'll probably be soon or now, just before the 10 talent tier comes in for Funky Moon, and they're trying to hand in. Muradin does get his big 30 gem stack out of the way, so he's not a worrisome if he falls anymore. And it's up to what Capital can do. They're doing a good job. They're still kind of keeping in with all the gems. They haven't been denied that much. But at the same time, Funky Moon, a Quiet Electro will fall and it gets picked off by Malfurion no less. And it's going to be one of the main damage dealers out for Funky Moon. And it's all up to Capital. What can they do with this Web Weaver phase once it's been secured, which it has?
And that was very well done. They kept that pressure on. Like you said, they needed to get that fight before 10. If Funky Moon had hit that 10 again, even though they're going to hit it now, at least they've got the turn in. Hopefully if they can get some structures down, Capital can get really close to that. But if they hadn't got that turn in before Funky Moon got 10, they would just have to back away. It would be too dangerous, especially with the kill potential that we've seen so far from Funky Moon. You wouldn't want to be going into that with them when they've got 10s and you don't. So it was, they did really well getting that pick on Electro and then getting that turn. They're going to have 10, and another 20, 15 seconds.
At least we'll be able to keep our back together, matching up with talent choices, and you're going to see what is a priority pick. Obviously, Zeratul will go for that Void Prison, and that is where, if anything, he needs to come in and do a clutch interrupt and stop. But now Botslick, he's quite low. He's down to half health. Here comes Beefy, but he gets stunned instead. Rain of Vengeance was such clutch in that fight right there. But there was no Talents 10s right now. Ring of Frost is being picked up. Avatar Art Defender as well. So a lot of safety in the side of good old Capital. But now here comes Leoric. He gets stunned, but he'll be able to walk away. Wraithwalk. There's Zeratul also blinking away. So it's all safety. But Irel, can they do anything? He's got to pop Art Defender soon, but he's falling. He's quite low, still sustaining well. Tranquility was popping in from Ultimo. And they're back away. Beefy. Nah, I'm not going to get something, but instead it's going to be Muradin, gets hooked in, and he's quite low, but so are the members of Funky Moon. Penta will heal him up back up, and that's going to be one member down, but that was a close fight.
Yeah, that really is a really backwards and forwards. We don't, in Heroes, don't often see team fights go for that sort of distance with the backwards and forwards and not getting that kill. But Funky Moon, they held out long enough. By the time they pulled that Tyron back in on his Muradin, his Avatar was down. He lost all of that health. It was easy to pick up.
Beefy with an unfavorable engage, tried to get something, at least some form of harass, but instead gets hooked back in and falls. Ural has to back, is trying to secure that bottom siege giants, but once you secure those web weavers, you are able to tell if the team is doing one of those mercounts because it still remains on the minimap. Ural trying their best. Back for sacred ground. I misread that. Surviving, but it will fall, and that's going to be a lot of gems in it dropping for Capital, and now they will get this bottom for themselves. And Funky Moon are looking quite dangerous this game.
Yeah, they are. I'm caught off guard a little bit by this going the sacred ground. The 40 armor is great, but I think really she could get maybe a little bit more value out of the Ardent Defender. She hasn't got it, so that's the way she's going to go. But they've still got so much that kill potential. And Botsilic, he's not missing these hooks. He's performing incredibly well. The stitches that we're seeing in ANZ Open Division are, performing really well, really impressive. And yeah, they're continuing this trend.
There comes the Void Prison coming out from Beefy. Says this is your 3 follow-up with the Rain of Frost, but he falls down a great Aegis to keep Oriole alive. And now the turnaround, sustain coming from Oriole in comparison to Malfurion is just not there. And Capital are dropping members like that's 4 members down, and Jaina has to back away, and they will concede this bottom key. It was well positioned and well timed as well because they did have the level 13 to level 11 talent advantage as well. And Funky Moon are just dismantling Capital tonight.
Yeah, their coordination is really, really well. They held out. There was a decent Ring of Frost, but they were able to separate enough. I'm not even sure if one of them actually got caught in the ring itself. And they're just running all over it. They've got an all but 3-level advantage. Got plenty of time before Capital's going to hit 13, and then they're going to be knocking on the door of 16. So it's just going to get from bad to worse at this point for Capital.
Now, if you're in Capital's position, clearly they're still trying to force an engage, despite being not only a talent here behind, they're fighting to keep this fort alive, but Ural just gets entombed instead, will not be able to get away. Scatter Arrow will secure the kill for themselves, and Funky Moon are just picking off members one at a time. If you're in the comms or if you're coaching for Capital, what would your strategy then change up to? What can they do? What is there for them right now?
At the moment, it's hard for me to imagine that because Capital are all far better players than me, so me coaching them sounds silly. But they've just got to hold out to 13. The issue that they're going to have is as they're hitting 13, Funky Moon's hitting 16. All they can really do is play it safe. They can maybe try and find that pick, try and use Zero Tool for a bit of scatting, but then they're going to have the problem with the Sonic Arrow is really going to counter that. It's really, really hard.
And it's probably going to get even harder knowing that now Funky Moon are very close to level 16 talents. And just now will Capital hit 13 talents. Soon, in a couple seconds. Well, there we go. So right now, talents even, but not for long because Funky Moon hit 16. This is where they are just now going to wipe the floor. And this is what have to do. Capital need to play smart. They can't afford to risk getting picked off. They can't afford to, I guess, in a way, engage unfavorably. But Muradin sees that Botslick is alone, but not for long because here comes the cavalry. For Funky Moon, they're rotating towards down. They're going to get trapped. Botslick just walking in, separating the team. Beefy, and as well as Muradin jump onto Stumper, but instead the arrow comes through. That's one member down. Zeratul falls. He was not able to get Void Prison out, and now Jaina, she's forced away, gets herself entombed with the Ring of Frost, but Botslick pulls her in. That's two members now falling, as well as Entangle. Now Furion all alone, and that's 3 members, 4 members. Can you roll get away? It's so low, but here comes Electro. Will secure a kill and 5-0 in the favor of Funky Moon. And they're just going to decide to push it for bottom lane and end the game right here, right now.
They might as well be merciful and end it quickly for Capital. They've really just come out like Capital didn't have much choice to do. They were trying to find that solo. Muradin was hunting for that and trying to get Stitches caught by himself. Stitches is hard, even if you catch him by himself. He's got a reasonably large health pool. They did what they did, but 13 to 16. None of these fight. They're doing a decent defense though.
Yeah, definitely. With the whole death time as being quite low early on into the game, a Void Prison securing 2 members and locking them in once the cavalry arrives. And here comes Hurrell, drops the sacred ground, but he's so low. You might have armor, but when you got 4 members attacking you, you've got nothing with that. And now Jaina gets hooked again, Botslick. That's just been phenomenal with those hooks. And the rest of Capital are dropping like flies. And Funky Moon, they're surely a team to monsters, and now they're saying we deserve to be in the top 2 position with the rest of you guys.
Yeah, most definitely. With a performance like that, these teams are really showing how hard they're working, the improvements that they're making week after week, and that's really, yet again we're seeing just such strong performance, and really stating where they want to be in this league.
Just a great performance for themselves right there, and you got to highlight the fact that what Funky Moon was setting themselves up to be, they wanted to get that hook into a quick blow up, which they did, and they had other means of doing as well. You got the Entomb to follow up. You also had Vala with her Reign of Vengeance. There was ways to secure kills once that came in, and if anything, let's just say they don't get the pick off, the slam build with as well as Storm Bow, and you had ways to deal with area of effect damaging abilities too. So that was a great composition coming out from Funky Moon, and Capital just didn't perform tonight, and it just got to happen like that. But ladies and gentlemen, we are going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to be bringing round 3 in tonight's HGC ANZ Open Division. We'll see you soon.